live. Look at that. Look at that. Watch the color temperature change there. What's going on, D-Bags? Hope you guys are doing well. We're back here again with another episode of the Detox Podcast, episode 281 to be exact. And if you're new here, you enjoy music, podcasts, comedy, or hooping videos, do consider subscribing. We've got a whole bunch of that stuff going on around here. When you do subscribe, leave a like or hang out with us in the live chat like you're going to do today. Helps us share conversations and laughs like this with more people. So do consider doing that. Helps us out a ton. Also, we can accept super chats. I forget to plug that sometimes, but I know we unlocked that feature a while back. We're out here. We are back. We back, says Duncan Marshall. Packers still own the Bears too. Yeah, we're gonna get to that, man. We got some fun stuff to get into today. Just me in the studio. Before I actually look at me jumping ahead. Before I can talk to you guys about that, I gotta talk to you guys a little bit about vacation time. Now, give me 1 second. It's just me in here. I still got the numbers. There's no better place. Well, let's be honest. Let's slow down. Let me pump the brakes a little bit. All right, there's nothing better than a well-earned vacation, and there's no better place to do it than with today's video sponsor, Alpine House 2. Let's be real, you deserve to have a vacation. You've been working your butt off. It's quarter 4 of the year. All right, we're wrapping it up. So you deserve a little getaway if you can afford it, man. If you can get out, you got some time to yourself. You and the family deserve to get out for a bit and enjoy yourself. And Alpine House 2 is a perfect place to do it. It's a classic Swiss chalet duplex A-frame with log cabin interior located directly across the street from the famous ski brule resort in Iron River, Michigan. I mean, directly across the street. Literally, it's going to be surrounded by forests, lakes, rivers, obviously more specifically Iron River. Alpine House 2 is the destination for fishing, hiking, snowmobiling, and of course, skiing, stuff like that as we get into these colder months. I know global warming might be having its way, but it is going to get cold, and when it does, you're going to have the perfect spot to go enjoy those activities. Alpine House 2 has been opened on Airbnb a few months back, and they've been having a lot of success, and a lot of people have been going up and enjoying their time there. So check them out at Alpine House 2 on Instagram. That's at ALPINEHAUS 2. That's at Alpine House 2 on Instagram. Hit them up. Tell them Rita Detox sent you, and they're going to set you up with a good vacation. Now, I got to change this. So give me 1 second here. And we're back to one. Look at that. We back, says Alyssa. Yeah, we're back. We're back here in business. We're doing it. You guys saw the thumbnail. We got some stuff to get to. Before we do, I gotta get my little vent sesh off. Supposed to have somebody on. Last month I had all these costumes I was excited to wear and goof around with different guests on my podcast, and I ended up having, I think every single week somebody canceled. So the homie Daryl Cochran pulled up for one of the episodes, and then sort of forced my homies who were dressed up, who were here for Halloween, to come on and do like a little gauntlet thing with me for Halloween. But the other 2 episodes ended up being solo ones. Nothing wrong with that. I still think we provide some value, but I get bummed out when I have people booked and then people cancel. So I got real on myself. I was like, man, I'm booking all of November this week, and I had this week where I booked all of November, and some of December's already booked as well. And somebody canceled for today, and it sucks because I want to have somebody on that's in that line of work, but it looks like it's going to be somebody else because that's the second time they canceled. You cancel on me twice, that's it. Unless there's some crazy circumstances, I'm just not putting up with it. I'm sorry. But I want to have somebody on who owns and runs a funeral home. I know I've mentioned that a couple of times, but it just keeps not working out, man. It keeps not working out. So hopefully I can figure that out. But that was supposed to be today. Ended up deciding I was going to plan a show once I found out a couple days ago that it wasn't going to work out. So I do have a show planned for you guys, and obviously some of it wrote itself over the weekend with the stuff that was going on. But that's just sort of where I've been at. But I have been working to get better at that and not let that hurt my ego as much as it has in the past. Because sometimes I get so mad, dude. I'm doing a solo episode. I'm like, what's the point? Why would you tune into this? And then I get comments, on or TikTok, I should say. TikTok is more ruthless than anything else. But I'll get, TikTok comments of people being like, just ripping your boy apart, man. Like, I'll drop a clip on me talking about turkey and how I hate turkey. And, some people are in the comments like, yo, like, yeah, turkey does suck. And then, people, okay. You know what? People are coming to my defense now. But this is a comment I got. I'm going to just give you guys this real quick. This is where my headspace is at when I go into solo episodes sometimes. Brock Lemar says, let's just give anyone a microphone so they can oh, okay. God damn it. Sorry, He's got like awkward punctuation. Let's just give anyone a microphone so they can start a dumbass podcast no one want to listen to. Go get a job, buddy. No one gives a fuck what your thoughts are on Turkey. Which, I mean, this isn't NPR. This isn't Pod Save America. Like, there's definitely, it's not as important as a lot of those other things. But, I like to think that there's something of value every once in a while that we get on this show. But yeah, so sorry, that's just where my head gets at sometimes. I know I get down on the solo ones. I'm wearing, I don't know if you guys remember last week, we had Anita Astley on the show, therapist, life coach almost, if you will, author as well, and her book is linked in the last episode, so definitely go check that out. She gave me this shirt. Not gonna lie, it's a little tight on your boy, but I figured it'd be kind of funny to wear. I was excited to wear it with my guest this week, but it is what it is. Now let's get to the show. All right, I'm sorry, that was my detour. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. It was bad. We know it was bad. We knew there was a high probability it was going to be bad, but we all got our hopes up, and that is exactly what Jake Paul wants us to do, and he succeeded at that. So we have to give him the credit in that sense. It's really interesting. The only reason I want to talk about Jake Paul is sort of my perspective on his career and where he is at, where he was at going into this fight and where he is now. So Jake Paul going into this fight, I don't know if you guys remember, I mean, we've covered a bunch of his fights because I'm a YouTuber, and he's probably the biggest YouTube boxer at this point. I mean, his brother might disagree with that, and KSI might disagree with that, but I mean, he's the one who's doing it the most consistently. Like, he seems to enjoy it the most, and his character's definitely been the most polarizing, I think, of all of theirs, and his strategy as well, right? So brief history, Jake Paul, this whole fighting scene happens, then he decides he wants to get some bigger fights, some bigger names, some bigger paydays, so he starts going for, like, ex-UFC fighters, retired teachers, plumbers, I don't know, like anybody that big LeBron guys will say Michael Jordan played against, that's essentially what Jake Paul is actually fighting. And so what happened was, he, the big draw for Jake Paul fights, and I can't lie, I was in on this too, was that I want to see this guy get knocked out. I want to see this guy lose. He's extremely unlikable, not because of his boxing, but because of his personality. He's never been really a nice guy. He's never been a good guy from the outside looking in. Maybe he's good to his family and whatnot, but him and his brother with different sort of money grabs and sort of what they did to like the YouTube vlogging landscape in the the 2010s, just they weren't super likable guys to begin with. So there was this intrigue of like, oh man, it would be great because we all hate this guy, to see him just get knocked out. So we're buying pay-per-views, or we're finding ways to stream it. We're tapping in. We're invested in this guy getting knocked out. And so what happened? Eventually, he was going to have to fight somebody important, and I thought it was really smart. And I've said it before on this podcast that the way he was picking his fights, because he was picking people that were so bad, they were basically, to his experience, if you take like whatever you want to rate Jake Paul 1 out of 10 as a boxer, or his fighting experience, whatever he was at any given point in time, they would find somebody who was just under, and not just under in the sense of like just barely. I mean, like under him enough that it was they felt pretty confident that he could win that fight, right? Like Nate Robinson, I thought was definitely going to win that fight. Going into that fight, Jake Paul, he only fought like Deji or whatever, and Nate Robinson, he hadn't fought anybody, but I followed Nate Robinson. He's a tank. I was following him for years. I loved him on the Chicago Bulls, on the Knicks, and he was always posting videos of him in the gym doing boxing workouts. But obviously, doing boxing workouts and boxing is very different, and Nate learned that. And so Jake Paul beats him, and then he fights. I forget who was immediately after that, but he worked his way up. I think he fought like Gibbs, and then he fought. I forget his name. I mean, he fought Ben Askren, which everyone thought. And I got excited. I was like, oh, maybe Ben Askren could do this, because I figured he could probably take a couple punches. He could not take a couple punches. He could take literally one of them. And so it was like Jake Paul would find these people who were clearly, especially in hindsight, are clearly not good enough at boxing, but they gave him enough time. Like, he's working with some of the best people in the world. So he's fighting people that are bad, yes, but they're a tiny bit better every time, and he's been constantly working the same amount, if not more, throughout this whole period. So he's sort of prolonging him having to fight anybody that's good as he gets better in the background. It's really smart if you think about it. Like, he's getting better in the background while taking some fights and building intrigue in the present that he knows he can easily win, but are going to stir some controversy, get some people excited, and hope that maybe there's a chance that this guy will knock him out. This guy will knock him out. And his team, to their credit, very good job at strategically picking out these people who are over the hump, to say the least, and he can easily beat. So I think that's pretty smart on their part. And so they've done that, and they build this momentum until it comes to the point where now you're running out of fights. You have to now. It got to a point after was it the second Tyron Woodley fight, or was that, I don't remember if that one was after the Tommy Fury fight, but essentially no one else would fight him because there wasn't any, like, he was running out of garbage UFC fighters to fight. And not that they're garbage UFC fighters, but they're garbage boxers or retired mailmen. He was running out of them, so he had to fight somebody else. He reaches for, which I think is kind of a smart move, Tommy Fury, who isn't really a tested fighter. Obviously, growing up in the Fury family, should be talented, but he's a young dude, more so leaning into his reality TV stardom than he is focusing on fighting. So in Jake's mind, it's like, okay, I get to squash the narrative that I can't fight a real fighter because this guy, because of his family, is technically a real fighter. But also, Jake probably thought in his mind, or his team thought, okay, but this guy, as far as real fighters go, this guy got to be like the least amount real fighter. If that makes any sense. That might make no sense. But like, this guy is a reality TV star first at that point in his life. I'm sure before that he was maybe more invested in boxing. I know he has a fight coming up. Maybe he is more invested in it now. But at that point in time, when they were trying to figure that fight out, he was more so focused on the social media game, on the reality stardom, than he was fighting. Makes a lot of sense for Jake Paul to be like, okay, I'm at the point now where I have to fight a real fighter. Let me fight the least real fighter I can, and I'll get that win. It'll buy him even more time to keep getting better until he can fight real fighters. Now, what happened is he fucking lost. And if you watch that fight, I know it was put on. I think it was put on by Jake's people. The commentators were atrocious, trying to make it seem like it was more even than it was. But Tommy, really, like, dog walked him the whole fight. Controlled the fight the entire time. Jake landed a couple hits here and there. He tripped him up in the last round or second to last round. Nice moment for Jake Paul. But a lot of people were trying to say that would, because Tommy technically it counts as a knockdown, that Jake should have won that fight. Jake looked bad the whole fight. He looked slower than him. He just didn't look like he had the kind of power that he looked like he did against other fighters. Tommy Fury's, if we're saying Tommy Fury is the least real fighter, he looked leagues above Jake Paul. That being said, so Jake loses that fight. Where does he go from there? No one cares now. We all saw Jake lose. I saw Jake lose. I didn't give a shit anymore. I'm like, all right, he lost. I don't got to worry about it anymore. And I know a ton of other people did too. So what happened? Jake, he still wants to fight. He still wants people to be, whatever with him. So he's trying to go for KSI. He's trying to go for this other person. KSI, not worried about him. KSI wants to go to Tommy Fury. Now, I believe Tommy Fury won that, or it was a draw. I don't, whatever. They fought, so then Jake's doesn't get the KSI fight. Jake doesn't have a fight to go, so he starts to fight. He had 2 or 3 fights since then, and none of us saw him. None of us cared. None of us watched. I can't tell you who he fought. I have no idea. Because why? Because the intrigue was, I have to hate this guy. I have to want to see him get knocked out. And if I don't think if I don't care that could happen because I already saw him lose, or if I don't think there's a chance that happens, I'm not going to tune in. So he does a smart move in getting Mike Tyson on the bill, who has a huge name in boxing, and books this thing. The thing I think is kind of lame about it is that the dude is 60 years old. But we all saw footage of him, and he looked pretty good still. However, it did look like his knee was jacked up for this actual fight, and obviously we saw what we saw. Well, we got to see as much as we could because Netflix did atrocious. Their servers were terrible at handling the traffic that they said that they prepped for it, but I don't know. I guess they really didn't, because I was just watching the 25% loading sign for half of the fights. So that really sucked, especially leading into the last fight, and then as the last fight started. That was kind of lame. And we'll get to Netflix in a second. I want to talk about Netflix a little bit today. But the thing that's interesting now, so that was kind of to catch you up to where Jake's at now. My question is, where does Jake Paul go now? Because I did see a couple of boxers, this one undisputed champion, tweet at him like, hey, let's do it, whatever. And Jake's like trying to like talk shit like, oh, look at, I own this sport. I've only got this many fights, and now the undisputed world champ wants to fight me, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sure he's not going to take that fight because his team's too smart to do that. But it is interesting because this event was free. That's a huge part of the reason as many people watched it as they did. And Netflix did say, I think I wrote this down somewhere, I thought it was 60 million. Yeah, they said 60 million households worldwide tuned into the fight. Now, that's great. But, I mean, it's also like, I don't think anyone bought Netflix for the fight. Like, these people already had Netflix. So it's kind of hard to judge, like, what was specifically, like, how many people would have bought it had it been, like, a traditional pay-per-view, like a lot of fights are. So it's hard to, like, judge where Jake Paul's relevancy is in that, because a lot of people were tuning in for Mike Tyson. They weren't tuning, we were tuning in for the possibility of him knocking Jake Paul out for sure. But if you would have put Tyson up against Roy Woods Jr. like they did previously fights before, a lot of people tune in for just that. So Tyson's name is huge. So I don't know. It's hard to like judge where he's at now. And my question about where does he go is, he didn't knock Tyson out, and I do believe, I mean, he's already admitted it. Jake has admitted it, that he sort of let off the gas because it looked like he could have probably really hurt the guy, because not because Jake's a great fighter. I actually think fundamentally when you watch the fight, even the first couple rounds when Tyson still had, 20% of his legs, he was moving and ducking and way better than Jake Paul was. Like, he looked like a much better fighter than Jake, even if it was only for the first 35 seconds of each round. So I don't know that Jake Paul looked like a great fighter. He just obviously was, 30 years younger than the guy. And it did look like there was a moment where I was like, oh shit, is he just going to smoke this dude? Like, I mean, you could just see like the overhand right was there, and I thought Jake could have just really took him out. But he didn't do that, and he kind of admitted to not doing that on purpose because he didn't want to disgrace Tyson, which I do think is wild to admit, because then just with how much betting goes onto these sports and all these other things, like that's sort of, you're sort of fixing a game then if you're not specifically going for it. But I understand why. I'm sorry, I don't understand why, because my thing is Jake wants to be hated. He needs to be hated for a good opponent to present themselves, for us to want to buy his next fight, which will get him paid more. I don't understand why he didn't knock him out in that way. I'm glad he didn't, because that would have been really sad to see. And obviously we were all hoping Mike Tyson would have done something better. But I don't know. I don't know who does he fight next, because I don't care. And part of, like, unless it's somebody that really, I don't know. Like, who could he really fight that I would give a shit about? Because here's the thing now, like, I know McGregor was one that was thrown around a while back. I don't want to see him fight Conor McGregor now. Conor McGregor, while a decent striker and had some fun against Floyd Mayweather, for anybody that understands boxing, and obviously I'm not the biggest combat sports guy, but Floyd Mayweather knew what he was doing in that fight. And while it looked like it might have been okay the first few rounds, he knew he was just going to wear that dude down, and he knew exactly what was going to happen. Now, I don't want to see Conor McGregor box. He's not a boxer. If Jake Paul wants to get in the UFC ring, hell yeah, set that up. I don't know. I heard Canelo be thrown around. I think that would be disgusting for Jake Paul. I think he would get murdered. So yeah, I hope that if that was what got booked, I would tune into that. I think a ton of people would tune into that. But like, unless it's somebody, I do think, and at least I hope, and based off his previous fights before this, the couple of fights between the Tommy Fury fight and this one, and sort of the lack of intrigue being there, I do think that people are like trending in this direction. None of us care or are going to support another fight unless it's against somebody that we have a reason to. Like, you need to fight somebody legit, bro. You need to fight. I know everybody says that in the comments, such an easy take, whatever, but he got to fight somebody who is legit and has a name. Because I know he's not going to fight just a no name, because then, even if they're a good, because what'll happen is, even if there's a great fighter who is undeniably great, but they don't have a huge name, he's just going to run away from that fight and essentially be like, well, I'm so much more popular, I'm so much more relevant. What, you have nothing to bring to the table. You're not going to bring any pay-per-view guys, and you're not going to da-da-da-da-da, because he doesn't want to risk fighting someone who could actually smoke him. I get that. I'm not asking you to do that. Fight someone who is fucking decent, who also has a big name. But they have to be a boxer. And there are boxers around. So do that, and then maybe people will tune in. Otherwise, I don't think anybody should buy his next fight, or if it's on Netflix, cancel your subscriptions because, dude, Netflix is grilling us. Netflix is absolutely smoking us because Netflix. So it started out humble beginnings, right? I used to be able to rent a couple DVDs a month, and you would send them back for like, what was it, $6.99, $7.99. I think it was $8 a month, right? And I went back and looked because the thing that blows my mind about this fight and how bad the servers handled it was the fact that Netflix has continually lost IPs, right? So they lost all of the draw, like a lot of their big shows and stuff that we came to Netflix for because other companies started their own streaming services. And on top of that, have continued to up their prices every year, remove password sharing, all in the name of original content, which is essentially them sticking fucking cameras in corners of houses and filming different versions of the same reality TV show because those are cheap to make. So they ask us to pay them more so that they can make great original content. They make 1 or 2 okay TV shows that they can't afford to pay a second season or third season for because they were underpaying the actors because they found no-name actors to do it. Like they make everything as cheap as possible, and then the only other shows that they do make so that they can say that they have, we have 40,000 titles, we have this many titles. The other titles are shit, bro. They're just garbage reality TV that costs nothing to make. You just keep cameras rolling 24 hours, and they're probably underpaying a bunch of sweaty editors who I cannot imagine the kind of life those people are living, trying to edit Love Island. I know Love Island's not on Netflix, but you know what I mean. Like that style of show, that style of show is so whatever, and there's good reality TV for sure, but you know what I'm saying? Like that the work that goes into that for those editors and the lack of funds that you need to produce shows like that, and it just doesn't add up with the fact that they keep asking us to pay more and more. If you don't believe me that they're kind of screwing us, Netflix back in 2008 when it first when it was first rolling out a subscription service, right, for streaming, was $9 when they added streaming. So like you could if you had like the regular account or whatever, or if you wanted the streaming account, it was $9 a month. They had 90,000 titles. Now you would rent DVDs with that. 2011, $8, but they had another tier that was basically, or sorry, my bad. 2011, I'm sorry, I misread my notes there. 2011, it was $8 a month for regular Netflix, or for Netflix streaming, but they only had a reduced number of titles available for streaming, and the rest of their titles were available in DVDs. So they had, I didn't have the exact percentage, but basically think of it like this, where like 80% of the stuff you would want from Netflix was still in a DVD, but they'd have like, a couple hundred bad movies on streaming. So you would have to still pay for each individual movie if you had that plan. So it was $8 plus you'd have to still rent each individual film that you wanted. Okay, then we fast forward to 2013. So now streaming is more popular. They add $12 a month for 4 screens, and they added 4K. So $12 a month. So you still had your regular plan. You could still do the $8 plan. Now they had added more titles. So that around this time they have 90,000 titles. So it's like a big streaming service at this point. Because I remember, dude, you could just get lost in Netflix. It was like Google, basically, but for movies and TV shows. And so it was $12. You could do 4 screens at the same time, and you could do 4K. 2014, they upped it $2 for new subscribers. Now, the only caveat to all these price increases that I will give them is that anytime you signed up, so if I signed up when it was $8, when they upped the price, I would get about 18 months before they would up my subscription. So like if you signed up in 2011 when it was $8, and then in 2013 when they announced it's going to be 12 or whatever, that is only going to be you're only going to be affected by that after 18 months. So anybody that's signing up that day is going to have to pay the 12. You, because you signed up beforehand, get to keep paying 8 for around 18-ish months. The studies look at it or say that it's about 2 years, just under 2 years before that they would raise other people's prices. So looking at this, then 2014 they add another $2 and they remove HD. So it was, if you either pay the $2 more for the premium version to get HD, which you were already getting before, or you just have to stream in regular standard definition, it's just hilarious because essentially what they're doing is they're just removing a feature you already had and then being like, oh, well, if you want that feature back, you got to pay for this. It's like, well, wait, I already had it. How the fuck do you do that? That's the issue with streaming. Could you imagine if you bought a movie, director's cut of a movie, your favorite movie, and it was expensive, maybe, or you bought a box set of something, came with all the behind the scenes documentaries, all this shit you could want, and then somebody came up to you like a couple years later because now that's more valuable, or inflation has gone up, and they come over to you and they're like, hey, you don't get the how we made it of this film anymore unless you want to pay us $2 more, $10 more, because that we sell that separately now. It don't make sense. So that's what kind of sucks about streaming. 2015 it went up another $1 for new users. By 2016 it was $10 for the standard subscription service, or standard subscription for Netflix was up to $10. 2017 the standard was $11. 2019 they added it. They went up each account, so depending on which one you had, whether it was basic, standard, or premium, fluctuated. Basic and standard went up $2. Premium went up $3. So now at 2020, which is wild that it went up in 2020. 2020 everything went up. The first two tiers went up $1. Premium went up $2 more, which is whack. Because what are we doing in 2020? We were all fucking inside watching Netflix, watching HBO, watching whatever, and they were like, "Yo, we know you need it right now because you got nothing else going on. You're gonna go crazy. We're gonna up the price just a little bit." By 2022, you're looking at the regular plan at $9.99. You got the so basic, then standard plan is $15.99, and you got premium at $19.99. And then later in 22, they added their $6.99 with ads, as like one of the last streaming services to not have ads. They decided to cave and add that as well. Left and back again. Oh, people are we back? We back. Now we're stay with me for one more second. So by 2023, we're looking at $11.99 for the basic plan, and standard plan stayed at $15.99, still $16. Premium is now up to $22.99. So it's consistently gone up a couple bucks every year, almost faster than inflation in some cases, and they have consistently given you a worse and worse product. And now, so to tie it into the Jake Paul thing, right? Netflix has given us increased prices every year, removed password sharing, so you can't have the same account as your mom. And then they do it in the promise of bringing us better and more quality content, and we get some of the worst films produced, as well as some of the shittiest, cheapest reality TV. And then they give us this fight, which is supposed to be, big thing. That's cool. Big live event, and it's free. Like, you don't got to pay nothing extra for it. And I watch a 25% loading screen for a huge chunk of it. So I just think Netflix, dude, it's so bad. I remember in college, I went to school for marketing, and in college we had to like come up with a marketing plan and how we could help Netflix sort of adjust their business plan. This was 2021, going into 2022, and adjust sort of their model to make some more money and help them with marketing and stuff like that. And it was tough, dude. It was tough because it just feels like, obviously some of it is beyond them, where like other companies decide, hey, we want a piece of this and we're going to make our own streaming service and we're going to take our stuff off of there. Totally get that. That's not on Netflix. But sort of, in my opinion, their inability to make anything new that we care about. I'm sure there are some good shows. I'm sure, I know there are. I've seen some on the show or on the app, and I do enjoy some stuff on Netflix. But I was without Netflix for several months last year because the family account that we shared was, obviously you couldn't share anymore, and I was like, dude, I don't care enough to buy this. Like, I don't. Amazon Prime has better shows. HBO Max has better movies. Hulu has The Bear. What does Netflix have still? Big Mouth? I like Big Mouth. It's cool. I'm not going to pay for Netflix for it. You know? I'll find it off somebody else. I don't know. I just... Kind of whack. Kind of whack. How about Netflix servers not being able to handle the load of viewers? That's kind of what we were just getting into. Yeah, that was the saddest part about it, is that they up the price every year. They've upped the price, and we've gotten a worse product. And it's sort of been on the promise of something like this, right? Where it's like, yo, if you can give us something crazy like this, not saying all would be forgiven, but it would be like, damn, okay, I know it sucks that we're all paying more, but look, I mean, we're going to get crazy cool live events like this, and it's going to run smoothly, it's going to be whatever. It might be worth it for some people to keep it around, but you can't even handle it. I don't know. Moving on. Sorry, that was my Netflix and my Jake Paul into Netflix rant. Now we got to talk a little bit about the Bears. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I'll give you guys this tip. Go on Amazon right now. I know I don't mess with Amazon like that, but you can look it up on Google, I guess, if you want to try to find it from somewhere else. They sell, I got put onto this by a regular of mine. They sell antennas for your TV that essentially are like a little flat mouse pad that sit right behind or underneath the TV. It's great if you live in a city where everybody's streaming, you know, the Packers game or the Bears game or your favorite NBA team's game. You know, if everyone's streaming it in your building, like Wi-Fi speeds are going to throttle. Obviously, the internet companies, they can throttle your speeds, you know, especially if you like live events. It can be kind of tough with all the streaming. Even if you pay all this money for Hulu Live Sports, you're still going to get the buffer right as the ball's entering the end zone. If you want to avoid that, dude, and you want the ability to just get sort of local cable that they are shooting off the towers for free, it's like $35-$40 for an antenna that plugs into your TV, and you're getting all your local games. I'm not saying you're going to get everything. You're only going to get, it's still only going to be like the 12 channels or whatever. But that's free. I mean, it's one time. You buy this $40 one time. $40 one time, you're going to have that forever. So something to think about, especially as we got nothing else to do except for watch sports right now in Wisconsin. It's starting to get cold. So might be worth it, especially when we're talking about all these different streaming services not being able to handle sort of the influx of viewers. But or do what people are saying in the chat there. I am not gonna second that because I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, the Bears fans. I want to talk to you guys real quick. I want to speak to fellow Bears fans. Can we agree to stop buying tickets to the games? Can we just all come together and agree on one thing? The McCaskey family that owns Chicago Bears does not care about the team being successful. So can you just make a deal with me that we're not going to buy tickets to go see them until they are good? I'm not telling you can't watch them on TV. I'm not telling you cannot support them. But I am saying, can we just please, for the love of God, stop attending the games so that they have to make a change, because they do not care about anything except for money. And the team is so bad. And the Bears did play, the Bears played fine. They did not play good by any means in this game against the Packers. They played all right. The Packers played really bad for what they normally play, which I would be a little nervous if I'm a Packer fan, because I'd heard that they were treating that game like a must-win going into that game, and that the Packers coaching staff had all the players watching footage from years past of all the better rivalry games and all tons of stuff, getting them ready. They were like, this is a must-win. We have to win this, because they hadn't won a division game yet. So for that to be your must-win effort, that does make me nervous, going into the last half of the season here. So I would be nervous if I'm a Packer fan. You guys are in much better shape than we are, but it's still something to be a little weary of. Caleb Williams, I thought, played fine. I don't know how many fucking plays that dude saved, running for his life. And I don't know how many dudes he makes miss a week running for his life. And people still got the audacity to make fun of his fingernails. He's saving. I know he's doing it for himself out of self-preservation, but my God, he has saved his own life at least 30 times this season. Because his offensive line, they want him to die, it looks like. And Matt Eberflus wants me to die and every other Bears fan because I do not understand this guy. I don't understand it. I don't claim to be a football expert. I love football. I've watched football my whole life, as tons of other dudes have in the U.S. I played football for some time in my life. I care about the Bears. I want them to do good. I was able to tune them out for a long time. I got real excited off the Caleb Williams hype and decided to come back in this season, and I'm regretting it to the fullest. But please tell me why. We talked about it a couple weeks ago about how the coach Matt Eberflus did not care about the plays leading up to the Hail Mary, which we essentially let them set up for the Hail Mary. And we're like, we're just going to bank on the last play. Please, for the love of God, explain to me why we did not try to get any closer for a game-winning field goal after, again, Caleb Williams made some spectacular plays to get us into field goal range at the end of that game. I believe it's like 2nd and 6 now, or 2nd and 8. Like, we just ran the ball up the middle. We still have a timeout left, and there's 50-some seconds. We could easily run the ball up the middle one more time, try to get, what if he gets 6 yards? What if he picks up the first down, you spike it, you run it up the middle one more time. All of a sudden, now you're 16, 17 yards closer. Obviously, this is a big hypothetical. Those are some nice runs. But you get that much closer, then you call the timeout. And then your kicker, for people that don't understand, the Bears lost off a blocked kick, a blocked field goal. The further away you are, when you have to kick something a great distance, I don't know how, advanced some of us are in math class, but the further away you are, the more of a lower angle that's going to have to start at, because it's got to go further, right? If I'm closer to the target, I can kick it higher because I do not have to go as far distance-wise. And if I can kick it higher, it is more difficult for a giant man to block, right? So it's insane to watch these guys. Why are we not trying to get any closer? In Madden, dude, it's like impossible to block a field goal. But in Madden, I could still fuck a field goal up by just like messing my right thumb on the stick, right? I am trying to get closer because I don't trust myself doing that on the fucking joystick. But this man has to kick in the windy city of Chicago a 47-yard kick. His max is like, 55? 53, 55? And we're just going to settle for this is 8 yards higher. So it's like, I'm sure it looked like it was going in if he would have, I can't even say that. I'm sure it would have gone in had it not been blocked. I'm going to give him the credit. But why wouldn't you want to be safer and make it, a 35-yard field goal? What are we doing, man? Like, what is the logic? Like, we could get closer. Nah, let's just run it out. Let's just give it a shot. We'll just save it for the last play. See what happens. Like, I think he just wants to get fired. And I don't feel bad for him if he does. I'm sure it's difficult to coach in a big market city. I do think that's something that I'm not envious of. Like, Chicago sports is tough. We're one of the biggest cities. I know all of our teams suck ass because we have terrible ownership across most of the teams. But it would, even if you were successful, you're going to be, it's a big market, so there's a lot of press. You're going to be scrutinized and asked a million questions. I understand that that's tough. But God, that dude is not handling it well and not responding well. And I feel really bad for Caleb Williams, and it sucks because now we're going to have the same thing that we have always had, where we fire the head coach and then bring in a new head coach who did not draft that starting quarterback and then is not going to like that start. It's sort of like you are stepping into what you have, and it's like, well, this is what I was given. This isn't what I was building. So, Eberflus and Ryan Poles drafted Caleb Williams, and I don't see them holding onto their jobs much longer. So, they only had 3 seconds. They only had 3 seconds because they let it get to that point. They had 50 seconds, and they ran the clock out. to do that. They could have done it. They stopped the clock at 3 seconds to get the kickoff. But yeah, it's just bad. It's bad to be a Bears fan. And to prove how bad it is and prove how bad this guys, I just want to read a couple things to you for people that don't understand football, or if you know a sport. You guys know sports at all, right? Wins and losses matter. You should win more than you lose to be considered good, right? The head coach of the Bears, Matt Eberflus, is 14-30 as a head coach of the Bears. 14 wins, 30 losses. Never beaten the Packers. Has not beaten them. Just hasn't done it. As far as I'm aware, I believe the Packers head coach, because the Packers head coach is 11-0 against us now. So 0-11 to that guy. He's never won a Sunday game on the road. And in case you guys weren't familiar with the NFL, just about 90% of the games happen on Sundays. So he has yet to win a Sunday football game not at Soldier Field. So that's sad. And this is another thing I want to say real quick. He's 5-17. And when I say he, subsequently the Bears, since he's taken over since 2022, is 5-17 in games that are decided by one score. So in games that could go either way. Why does that matter? Because these are the most talented people in the world at this thing. Regardless, even the worst, player on the worst team in the NFL, people don't play pickup football, but if there was such a thing, would murder people. Like the worst offensive lineman in the NFL could probably pick your car up. Like these guys are scary. And so it's a difficult job to keep these people on the same page and to bring people together because there are so many different talents and egos and different skill levels even at this high level and all these different things. But these are winnable games. Of games that were winnable, that were not like you're playing a team that's just completely outclassed you or you just had a completely off day, where you get blown out or you lose by a couple touchdowns, whatever. These are winnable games that the Bears have a chance to win, where coaching matters because when you're taking your timeouts, when you're deciding to throw the challenge flag, when you're deciding to go for it or not go for it on fourth down, these things matter. He's 5-17. He's bad. He's bad. He's just bad. Every time he's thrown the challenge flag this year, I don't think he's won a single challenge this year. I've watched all the games. I'm pretty sure he hasn't won a challenge this year. And I could be wrong. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he's won a challenge. And think about it. And the reason I bring it up is because you think about what I just said a couple minutes ago about we have 50-some seconds left and we just got into field goal range. If you had 2 fucking timeouts, then you could quite easily run the fucking ball up the middle, call a timeout, run it up one more time, call another timeout. Don't even have to risk getting back to the line and spiking it. Because we had 1 timeout left. We called it at 3 seconds. We let the clock run out to 3 seconds. We called it. We could have instead called a timeout, ran a play, called another timeout, then kicked it. Whatever. Anything. But we didn't. We couldn't. It's bad. It's tough. It's hard. It's hard to be a Bears fan, and I do a lot of therapy, and I'm working on. We talked with the therapist last week. She's on the shirt right now about acceptance, and I've been working on radical acceptance in therapy for real stuff, not for sports. But I think it's time as Bears fans we just accept that that's what it is. I mean, I feel like for the most part, most of us know that. There's still some people with some delusion. But I'm just accepting it. All right, we have to accept it, and I'm begging you, don't buy tickets to the games. Let the family that owns the Bears go out of business. Let them, they won't, but let them hurt. That's the only way that they will care is if we don't go to the games. So please just don't go to the games until they are good. That's all we can do is vote with our wallet at that point. I will say, last thing though, I know it. I know some crazy Bears fans are saying it. It did look a little like a leverage penalty. For people that don't know, there's this rule. I didn't even know it was a rule until a few weeks ago, because I tapped out of the NFL for a few years. But the Bears got hit with it when we blocked a field goal back like 3-4 weeks ago. You can't push off the center and to get leverage to get up and block it. The guy did exactly that. Now, I've been told that because the center's head was up or whatever, like there's some technicality that it's probably okay, but I do know that the Bears did file like a thing with the NFL commission, whatever, to see if that could get looked at after the game. But either way, it was bad coaching is the reason they lost. It's not really why they lost, but it is interesting to think. And I wish someone could explain that rule in terms that make sense, and then that we could apply that rule, because it was the same thing. I mean, the Chiefs blocked that field goal last week, and they didn't get a leverage. The whole line just fell. So you don't see a blocked field goal unless something like that happens, or if someone pushes off to get that leverage. So I don't know how that works, man. I really don't. But I'm sad. I'm sad to be a Bears fan today. But we just have to accept it, man. Just accept that it's over. And speaking of accepting that it's over, yeah, we talked about Friday's fight already. I see that in the comments. In the spirit of accepting that it's over, we're still in fall, but it's starting to come to an end. We're getting into Christmas time. We got Thanksgiving coming up, but after Thanksgiving's done, it's all Christmas, baby. I don't like to jump the gun. We're not going to get into Christmas content yet, but it is gaming season. Now, I don't touch my PlayStation most of the year, and I don't know if I will touch it this gaming season, but when it does get cold enough, I just want to stay inside and play video games. That's like the best part about this time of year, is that you don't have to feel guilty about it. Because we've all been there before. A favorite game comes out, or a game we're looking forward to comes out in the summer. Now, it's cool when a summer blockbuster comes out and, you can take a date to the movie, or, you can, I don't know what else comes out. And a cool album comes out in the summer. Like, you can listen to that while you're going out, while stuff's happening. You're out and about, you're in the clubs, you're out getting food, whatever, you're driving around. But video game comes out, especially when you want to really sink your teeth in and just fucking bum around and play for hours and hours and hours. When that comes out in the summer, I still do it. I just don't feel good about it, right? Because I look at, I'm like, oh, this vitamin D that I'm missing right now while I'm just fucking grinding away on the sticks. But this time of year, as it gets cold, when it's freezing balls outside, especially the Midwest, fucking feet of snow, multiple feet of snow outside, I'm cool with just playing video games. I don't feel guilty about it at all. So this is the best time of year to play video games. And in that, speaking of that, I want to give you guys the five games that you can sink your teeth into this gaming season. The 5 games that we all waste our lives playing, or that I waste my life playing too much when it comes to gaming season. Number 5 being sports games. I'm going to be honest with you, have not bought a new sports game in at least 5 years. But I will still load up 2K17, even though it's on a PS5 now at this point, every winter, just to drop 40 in a playoff game for the Bulls as myself, and then turn the thing off and never play it again. But I just wanted to include sporting games because I don't play a lot of games, so the list was kind of small, and I know a lot of people do. I think that's a valid thing to dump tons of hours into, even though the game developers are scamming you. Definitely worth dumping hours into this time of the year, because unless you got an indoor soccer field or you play basketball, even if you play basketball, sometimes it costs money to play at gyms inside. This is the time of year where it's like there's just not as many opportunities to play these sports. So you want to play the video game, the virtual version of that. I respect it. Number 4 for me, something I play at least once a year. I'll play a little bit. Kingdom Hearts. I put so many hours into that game, into the whole franchise, dude. It's sickening. It's sickening. I think there's 13 or 14 games now, and I've beaten them all multiple times. And the ones that are longer are the ones that I've beaten the most because they're the most fun. Looking at you, Kingdom Hearts 2. Number 3, especially the newer titles. God of War. It's just beautiful. I have, and this is not an exaggeration, You can ask people close to me. I have beaten God of War multiple times, both games, and on top of that have watched just the full game be played with cutscenes and everything another couple of times, as well as like in-depth character breakdowns, because I just love it that much. I just think it's such a good world. I think the story build, like, I just think it's so much fun. And if you haven't played it, this is your excuse. It's getting cold outside. Go buy God of War. It's probably cheaper than it was when I got it, and play them, dude. They're so much fun. Now this is something that I don't wish upon anybody, but this is a game that I have been delving into every gaming season, as in winter, since 2015, late 2015, maybe 2016-ish, maybe 2016. Yeah, 2016, I think. Since 2016. I had it when it was in beta. I still have it now. I don't really play it except for a few weeks every year where I get real into it. Ark Survival Evolved. Did an episode a while back with my guitarist where we both ranted about this game for a long time, so I won't do that all here. But I will tell you, there is nothing more fun than when it is negative 20 degrees outside, than forcing somebody who's not getting paid enough to bring me a pizza delivery while I build a fortress in the forest and then tame dinosaurs. It's so much fun. And there's beautiful beaches, and the map is huge. There's all these other maps. Like, there is something fun about it. It's just a survival game. It's like Minecraft, but more, I guess, I don't want to say more realistic because it's just as equally as goofy. But you're like a human, not like it's more humanistic graphics, I guess, realistic graphics. Super fun, super fun survival game. If you're just playing, and if you do play, just play with the sliders up, because, dude, playing online is one of the worst experiences ever. I say it's a fun game. There's awesome things about it. If you're playing with friends, it's really fun, but it is an extremely racist community. From the stuff I've seen, I'm sure there's people that aren't, but it's extremely racist community in some cases. People are so mean. They will just destroy your base just because they own the whole server. They will keep you alive in a cage for days so you cannot play the game, because if you were to just die, you could respawn, but they will make sure to knock you out and force feed you food so your character doesn't die. I'm ashamed to admit I've done that to somebody as well. It's just a toxic game that breeds toxicity. So it's great for this time of the year when there's no sunlight to warm your soul. But yeah, if you just want to feed that, inner demon, all the terrible intrusive thoughts that you have, I guess, play Ark Survival Evolved. I probably still will play it this winter at some point, but it's a roller coaster. I don't know that I'm selling it really well. I've kind of in this analysis right now, so I don't know. But Ark Survival Evolved, I've at least played, I have to check, I think it's like 280 hours. It could be more than that. It might be 680. I can't remember. If you guys want, message me on a different app or something. Maybe I'll post how many hours I've played on it in total, because I have it up somewhere on my PlayStation. And number one is in the title of this video. It's Fortnite. Fortnite is not the same as it used to be, and I sound like a boomer saying that, and I'm sad to say it out loud, but it's not the same as it used to be. But if and when they do it, because they do it now, it seems like regularly to bring us back, they announce something of old coming back, whether it's the OG map or some old skins or the Star Wars thing or whatever. If you come back and you have a good group of homies playing with you, it does still hold up. I can't lie. Especially that they have no build, because build just got too sweaty at a certain level. Build was awesome back in like chapter 3, I think, when John Wick, like the OG John Wick came out, and like it was a big deal. If someone had John Wick, they were good at building, but like pretty much everybody else, it was pretty rudimentary. Like it was like you watch Ninja for a crazy shit, but if you were playing on console, like you were pretty good at building if you knew how to play Builder with Builder Pro set on, and you could do like a quick spin around and build the little ramp with the one piece of wood blocking you. Like that was a big deal back then. And they eventually just got to a place where it was, people with jobs and lives just can't compete, and I get that. But no build makes it still fun, especially when they bring stuff back. And I've heard that they're bringing back the OG season again, but it's not going to be a season. They're just going to bring back the OG map as a game mode, and people can play that. Apparently, it's just going to be there forever, which would be great. I have Fortnite shorts that I wear that I made myself. I don't know if I can legally say that, but I love Fortnite. I think it's a ton of fun, and I'm excited to play the OG season. I bring it up. So OG Fortnite, when they brought it back last time, the users, like active players, spiked up to 44.7 million. Right now, like the active users right now that are actively playing Fortnite every day is around a few million. It's like 1.8 to 3 million-ish. And I looked that up right beforehand. I apologize. I don't have the source on top of my head. But it's around, it's capping out around 3 million, which is a little low for what I would think. But, dude, when they announce OG shit, it jumps up to 44 million. So it makes sense why they would. Plus, they got Ice Spice in the game now, I saw. So she put her in the thumbnail. She's out here. I just think, like, I remember in 2017? I mean, I think Fortnite was out maybe 2017, maybe even before that. But I remember first playing Fortnite around 2017, 2018. And I got on after the first season. So I was in like the second season or second chapter, whatever the fuck it was. I missed the Black Knight or whatever night. I missed the first one. But after that, I was like on. And I just remember like that was a really fun winter playing that with my friends in college. Just like we would order a pizza, a couple pizzas. We'd all be out in the living room, 3-4 TVs next to each other, all of our PS4s, and should have probably been doing homework, but we were just playing Fortnite. Two of my roommates did end up both flunking out of college, but it was worth it, dude. It was worth it for that first crown. It probably took us a month to win that first game. Get that first win, dude. At least a few weeks. Because we would hide. I loved it, bro. It was peaceful. You just take some time, get some materials with your homies. You're just talking about life, and then you hide in a bush, you hide in an attic, and you try to just make it till the end, and then try to like third party somebody, ambush put somebody. I'm not ashamed to admit I'm better now, but that's still majority of my strategy is hide as long as I can and try to third party somebody for the win. I know people hate that, but that is all I can do to be competitive. But it was beautiful back then, and I know it's not anymore, so I do get sad about that. I apologize if I just made myself or any of you feel old for loving the old Fortnite. But yeah, what are we at here? About an hour? It's just me in the studio today. It's been a little weird. Just literally just me. There's nobody behind the scenes or anything like that. So it's been kind of interesting. Another interesting thing too, dude. I feel like I've had conversations like with and around people in the last like couple months, dude, where I'm like, people kind of talk to me about. They won't talk to me about this being the show or this being my music, like the stuff that I'm sort of passionate about and passionately pursuing. But it might come up, or they'll passively make a comment that sort of like implies that I'm not good at this shit, bro. That like, oh, you just do that thing. And I'm like, yo, I gotta say, I'm not great at it. I know I'm not great at it, because if I was great at it, there would be a little bit more success there. But I'm okay. I'm all right at this podcasting thing. I've had some clips go. All right, I've made some people laugh on the show. We've had some heartwarming moments. I'm okay. And I had a moment, I was looking at myself in the mirror today, and I was like, damn, like, because I was feeling down, somebody canceled, and I got to do the solo episode, and I'm like, dude, I'm pretty okay at podcasting. Not good. I won't go as far to say I'm good. Definitely not great. But I'm definitely one of the podcasts that exists, I've got one of the podcasts that exists. And I've done 281 episodes of them, so that's got to put me ahead of at least one person. And like I said, I made a furry laugh, and that's one of my favorite episodes. So I'm gonna just take that. I'm gonna accept that, and whether or not it's family members or peers or just some guy at a Subway that's trying to tell me that my my podcast is not great or not good, I will agree with them, but also point out that it is okay. It is not bad. If you say it's bad, like that one guy in the comments earlier from the episode, you're wrong. You're objectively wrong, because this podcast is okay. Now that's going to be it for the 281st episode, guys. I appreciate you guys for jumping in the live chat today. It's good getting to see your guys' chats. I'm doing a solo episode. I got to actually respond to some of them. I know I missed some of them when we're doing the live with other people, so I do apologize for that. We've got our boy Michael Scott coming back next week, followed by who's on December. Oh, I do have a returning guest that hasn't been on in a few years, coming on first week of December. Then we've got some interesting folks from a band. We got a exciting band coming on, reporter coming on, some different stuff. So I'm excited for that. I'm sort of also delaying me having to get up to click the Patreon thing. So give me 1 second. Give me one second. Where are we at here? Where are the patrons? There they are. If you guys are interested in getting behind the scenes access to extra podcasts, extra videos, as well as a series where I break down how I mix, master, write, record every single one of my songs, go to patreon.com/Darren Rita. You can help support the channel for as little as $1. And plus you get shouted out at the end of every episode. And I have to actually make some new videos for over there. We have some new songs that have come out that I need to break down how we made them. But that series is fun, and we're doing some other stuff over there. Yeah, so you get shouted out. Shout out to them. Patreon.com. There's that. We also got Alpine House 2 for sponsoring this episode. That's at ALPINEHAUS 2 on Instagram, Alpine House 2. I didn't realize that is blocked when I put the 2 up. 2. Damn, that's kind of blocked too. 2. There we are. Let me get that out of the way. But with all that being said, guys, I do appreciate you for sticking with me today and hanging out. I love doing this show. I'm very grateful to do it. Trying to think positive thoughts going into the next week. We've got some family stuff coming up. You know, you've got Thanksgiving, you've got Christmas to look forward to, New Year's. Connect with me on the other socials. I know a lot of people I know in real life actually watch the show. So it's that time of the year where the people that matter most, it's great to see them and touch base. So feel free to reach out, man. I want to hear from you. But all that being said, this has been the 282nd or 81st episode of the Detox Podcast. I will see you guys next week. Peace.